Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to Miami Minutes. This is the podcast that should be able to handle covering each and every minute of Miami Connection, but we'll see. We've still got 30-odd weeks to go here, so
we might just stop now.
No, the thing of the extra tragedy, I'm just like, if you got this far, and then we're like, nope, just couldn't do it. It's like, no, you come on, you're past the halfway point, you're past the hump, so it's like, yeah, you gotta finish it off now. If it was in the first 5 minutes, fair enough, but like, not minute 57, of course. And also, I'm one of the hosts, Niall McGowan.
I'm your other host, John Parker, and hopefully I won't be sending you to sleep. I hope not. We've got to finish this. We've just said.
Yeah. And yeah, as I also just said, this is, of course, minute 57 of Miami Connection. And it opens with a scene of serenity. And it ends a minute later with the bustle of breakfast. Yeah, so I was just wondering, what the heck is going on with these guys in this scene in terms of, electricity bill past due? Like, they're all sitting, seemingly studying and doing whatnot in complete silence with not one light on. What the hell's going on here?
It is weird because, I understand sometimes you're doing something and you don't want to wake up your housemates.
Yeah.
But it doesn't come as a surprise to anyone else that someone else is up.
No, it feels like this is like a routine thing. It's like, oh no, everyone at a certain point of night, we just have it's like a vow of silence or something. It's like, yes, now we have our routine hour of complete quiet.
It's part of their training.
It could be, because it was so strange to me that, not only are they all so intensely quiet, not even in the distance do you hear, someone having a radio on or something, just they're students, they're college guys up to no good.
I get the vibe, though, that it's maybe 2 a.m. and they've all said they're going to bed, but they haven't gone to bed. Because that happens sometimes, and you think, I better be quiet while I go to the toilet, and you realise everyone's still up. For God's sake, why don't you fucking tell me you were up? I could have been making noise. I could have had my light on.
Why hasn't anyone got any lights on? No, it's just part of, this might be part of Mark's training. It's oh yeah, so you have to learn how to read in complete darkness.
Oh, it's like a kind of Daredevil situation.
Yeah. But you know what, Mark? As a guy who now wears glasses from due to eye strain as a child from usually reading when I was supposed to be in bed and not turning the light on. Well, you know what this is going to get you, man, is a dojo full of people wearing goddamn glasses.
And let me tell you don't want that. That's one reason I didn't do martial arts, just because I can't wear contact lenses.
No.
And you're going to get hit in the face. It's going to happen.
No, it's part of the whole deal. It's no, you will inevitably get kicked and punched in the face many times.
Yeah, and which I'm okay with. It's just, you'll break my glasses.
But also, how are you going to get your toes around somebody's nose if they got glasses above the nose as well? You're just or maybe that's part of Mark's. That's even more of the challenge. If I can flick the glasses off with the toes and then go in for the clasp,
in one motion. That'd be amazing.
But it's also just to be fair, it did remind me of I remember when I was a student and people had just moved out of the university halls but into your first house, your first shared house with people. And I remember people stealing the Wi-Fi from the primary school across the street. That kind of thing of just oh no, we're not paying for internet. We're just getting it for free over there.
I did that when I first moved to Liverpool. I had to rely. It was back in the day where you didn't leave it on permanently. So I had to rely on the next door neighbour being in and having it on.
This is now because people are so used to no, you have to get the best of the best of the best, and it has to be no, everything, you're gonna have to be streaming things in 4K, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So you make sure, no, I'll pay the £30 to £50 a month it is for.
I couldn't afford it then.
Yeah. Back then I was remember one of my friends was just yeah, no, we just got it from the primary school across the street. Thankfully, they leave it on all night, so it's fine.
Brilliant. That's what these guys would be doing if the internet was a big thing. I mean, would it even exist yet? It might exist in universities at a push, but I don't even know if it does.
I wouldn't say so. No, not this is 1986 when they're filming.
Yeah, I think that's around when they made. Let's see, hang on. 1983 it was created. But I wouldn't think a lot of universities would even have it by 86.
Well, what about the fourth highest computing competition, whatever the hell that thing was that they won way back in minute 15 or wherever it was?
It's possible then. It is possible. But if it exists at the school, I think there'll be one machine with it. And you can use it like as part of a class. I don't think it's going to be a thing, you know? I don't think it started getting used properly until like 1990s, like early 90s.
Could it be used for dating? Well, theoretically, yes, but the computers would be so big that only the 4 richest kings of Europe could afford them.
That's what they thought. They thought they were going to get bigger. It's like, well, I say that. I'm sure people in the know were like, of course not. What are you talking about? We're making them smaller.
Anyone with any business acumen is like, well, you can sell these to everybody, and if you make them smaller and smaller, more people are going to buy them. So
yeah, but the general sort of public thought, oh yeah, these things, because they took up like a room. My dad told me about when he first used computers, and they were like a room.
Yeah.
And they used punch cards, you know, and that's not even that long ago. Punch cards, really.
But anyway, just the vibe, though, of these guys all sitting in darkness, studying, like, without even a candle to light the way, still had the vibe of...
like a candle in one of those candle holders.
Oh, but great, yeah, one of them disappears. Like, Jim appears where he's got, like, the full-on night dress on and the candle, the nightcap with the bobble way hanging down by his knees.
Oh, God, yeah. I could totally see at least one of them.
He's like, guys, I've been visited by 3 ghosts tonight. Like, what? You're having your own Christmas carol in the middle of summer?
That'd be great. The Miami Connection Christmas special.
Well, that's the thing. I guess it wouldn't be Jim. Like, it would have to be Jeff would be the one getting visited by the ghosts.
Maybe.
And then it's like, yeah, but who would be... Oh, now I kind of want to make this where it's going to be like, the Miami Connection Christmas special. Jeff is visited by the ghost of... Because the ghost of Christmas Past is supposed to have, like, the angelic voice of a young girl. So that'll be Jim, obviously.
Of course, yeah.
Like, yeah, you need to go back to your past.
It's a beautiful voice. Right, I genuinely think we should write and record this as a Christmas special of this.
Oh, yeah, come in this December 25th, right. The Miami Connection Christmas special.
I'm throwing this out there. It might not happen, listeners, because time constraints. Because we're throwing this out there quite late in the game to be writing a Christmas special. But I'm going to think about it. I'm going to try and do it.
So again, I guess the Christmas present, big furry guy. So that would have to be Angelo, I guess.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of fur
and,
going on.
Christmas future, Mug, maybe? Like, he's got to be in there somewhere. But
I'm trying to think of the various versions of the future, because they often portray it slightly differently, don't they?
Well, it's just supposed to be death and doesn't speak, but then, like...
Mark's got the presence of death about him. Like, look, this guy could fucking kill you.
Well, I guess he is an angel, because he literally... Was it him who kills Jeff? Like, he kills Yoshito.
Well, spoilers. Wait and see. You know?
I mean, like, yeah, they know for sure he kills Yoshito later on. So it's like, well, you know, he is an angel of death in his own right, but they'll have to put this more together as we get closer to Christmas time. Like... I just imagine it now. Like, I kind of also want Mark to be Bob Cratchit, so you'd have earlier scenes of Jeff and I guess John needs to be Cratchit, because then it's like Jeff's picking on him in the office and stuff like that.
And, see, this could work. Genuinely, we could create this.
Jane's obviously then Mrs. Cratchit. Oh no, it all fits. It all fits. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not the best actor, but I'll give it a shot. I say that I've never acted, so I don't know.
I wonder if we called up YK Kim. I was like, would you lend your voice to this?
He might.
Would he say yes or no?
He seems like somebody, I don't know his religion, but he seems like somebody who would be behind the Christmas spirit.
Oh, yes, of course. No, yeah. He has that kind of vibe of like, it's live the Christmas spirit each day of the year and things like that. So
he probably listened to that podcast, Felice Navipod.
Yeah. But it would be great, though. Just imagine us making headlines in, like, December of, like, YK Kim reprises role for Rando Podcast.
And it'll be, the best written Christmas special of all time. It can't be as bad as the Star Wars one. Come on.
Like, Angelo's gifts to everyone is that weird, friggin', was it breathable clothing or whatever that crap was he was flying?
Yeah, there you go. We can cross-promote.
Yeah.
For his T-shirts that cost like $100 or whatever they are.
They're all as good as NFTs now. We're just like, these are the future of clothing. And like, they cost $100 back then. Now you can't get rid of them.
That's something else we should do. Now that it's fallen apart, let's get in on the NFT market. But actually, in this though, I initially thought, because you've said a couple of times, they're studying, and they are studying. I didn't realize until I was I'd gone through the minute a little bit. Because despite what I should do, I don't watch the minute and then go and watch it again step by step. I just watch it step by step from the off.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, they're very cultured, these young boys. They're very, very cultured. They're all reading at night. It's nice, isn't it? And it looks like, important texts. I thought John was reading quotations from Chairman Mao or something. But I imagined Mark might not be too happy with that.
Yeah, that's why he's coming in going, what the hell is happening in here?
It looks like his little red book, as they call it. The little red book.
Yeah, you never know. He could be a sociology guy. He could be studying politics. You never know. Maybe it is. That is what he's reading.
Because I'm not passing judgment on anything here, But, there might be many reasons you would read a text, and you might not necessarily like it.
I mean, you could walk in and could be reading friggin' Mein Kampf, and he's like, no, it's for history. It's awesome.
Yeah, that's a difficult one, because some people try and be like, well, I'm reading it
ironically.
or to see what the enemy think. And it's like, no, I don't think you need to. I think we know what they think. Unless it's for academia. I don't. Look, don't read it, people. It's not worth it. Even I haven't, and I'm a World War II nut who's obsessed with these kind of things. Anti it, but I like, researching it and things like that. But I won't even read it, because it's pointless. And it's not even meant to be interesting. It's meant to just be, this is insane.
No, I remember, I think it can't be true, because there must be so many people. But I remember my history teacher in secondary school saying, they put you on, when you check it out of the library at the universities, they kind of have a little special list.
I got told that as well.
Yeah, but I don't know, because it must be it'll be available at universities everywhere.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine that at this point there. But now, again, it could be that they still have a little special things. You take out that and the anarchist cookbook, they're like, okay, well, no, we do have to put you on a list. Sorry.
There'll definitely be one set up for combinations like that. Absolutely. Which I think is, I don't think that's really infringing on your rights. I think it's just, it's making sure.
Yeah.
And I think, you can step over the line. But in this case, I mean, if you're getting out something like that, again, unless you're an academic, it's suspicious.
I think that's a whole thing with, it's been that long since I've seen it now, but I think that's how they end up, tracking down John Doe's apartment in Seven, is that they had to just sort of concoct the library has this system of they can cross-reference all the books you've been checking out across the country and stuff, so they have a guy going, and it's I think they emphasize in the movie this you didn't know about this, Brad Pitt, because nobody knows about it because it's top secret, which is indicating to the audience it doesn't exist. But there's supposed to be a thing of I think Mark Booth Jr. comes over to Morgan Freeman and says here you go, here's everyone who's checked out this in this state or whatever kind of thing. It's
it might exist, because they do keep a record of who's got the books in general. Yeah.
I think there might be something more. I'll use it as an excuse to go rewatch Seven, but I remember it being some
like
sort of,
you need one.
So I remember there was some sort of convoluted library reason for this is how they tracked where he lived and stuff. But
well, I mean, some people wouldn't like John reading a book by Mao, and some people would. There's nuance to these topics. But that book, you are allowed to get that book. I have a copy of that.
Yeah.
Most of it, no matter what your feelings are on how things went, the book I find very interesting. It's not crazy. Most of what he says, you're like, yeah, lynch the landlords. Okay.
Yeah. You are on a list, though, John. That is
I probably am.
Yeah. It's just Morgan Freeman and Brad Pitt gonna come kicking in your door any day now. But I did note that, because I was thinking maybe, I know for sure that that John is studying, because they talk about the fact that he's studying. But for a second there, I thought Mark might have just been reading by himself. But no, you see that he has a pen. So unless he's highlighting lines of a poem that he loves that he's going to try to seduce someone with, I believe he must still be they're not writing. Neither of them are writing anything down. They're all just we're just sitting reading, which is part of it. But usually there'll be a highlighter out or something.
I sometimes, despite what I was told to do by the university, sometimes I find it, maybe it's my ADHD, I find it helpful to read and then go back to the start with the highlighter of the chapter. whereas I was advised to skim read. They taught you a technique, and it does work, but I don't know, maybe because my brain doesn't work properly. I found it easy. Yeah, read it once and then go in with the highlighter, because you're like, okay, right, I remembered there was something coming up. Boom, boom, boom.
I just remember, guys, though, when you see the books they were using, everything was highlighted. I was like,
that was the problem I got into. I started highlighting 90%.
Yeah, and I guess the point, like, well, that's just define the point of the highlighter. Then it's like, so what you want to do is then, like, well, if it's really important, you start writing little notes, and I was like, yeah, but then you're just going to copy out the whole goddamn book at that point.
It becomes pointless, right? It's stupid. It's because you're paranoid. You're like, well, I might need this information, so I'd better highlight that as well. So then I developed a system of 2 different colours. One was important and one was very important.
One was yellow, one was yellower.
Yeah, basically.
But no, for briefly, when I thought Mark was just reading, like potentially for pleasure, I did look up the best-selling book of 1987.
Oh, like fiction and stuff.
Yeah, just to be like in America, what was like the best-selling book at this time? And I did
Mein
both.
Kampf.
That was a shocking thing. It's like, and now people are wondering why the right's on the rise in America. A mere 35 years later. But no, I did 87 and 86 because this would have been filmed in 86, I guess. But both of them, both times, the title's taken by one Stephen King.
Oh, it had to. I'm trying to think then, because you're a big fan.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm not a big reader, which might surprise some people. So I'm going to guess, and I could be well off because I don't know when all this stuff came out. I'm going to guess then. Let me think. Mid 80s. The Stand?
Oh no, Stand's way earlier.
Stand's
like that's like his third book, I think. The Stand.
Okay, It then.
It is the 86 was It, which lead me to believe that this wouldn't be It because it's way too small. Like it's
it needs to be 5 times as thick. Doesn't it?
Like if you're sitting reading the phone book, it's like, oh yeah, that's a copy of It, yeah, for sure.
I think that's one of the things that put me off. I like all of his stories, but as I'm not a big reader. Whenever in the past, like I used to buy my ex Stephen King books, and when they would arrive for me to wrap for Christmas or whatever, I was like, "Fucking hell!"
Yeah,
Jesus, like I'm not going to try reading this.
It's one of these ones too. The people lay into him so much for like, just like he just spends he himself has even said he spends too much time dithering around until like taking ages to get to the point. But like things like It, like people criticize It all the time for being too long, and I was like, no, it's the exact night because everything it's doing is getting you into the world.
That's
so it's all letting you just soak, and like it's not a book that you want to rush. I think it's like, yep, it'll take you time to get through it, but it's a worthwhile venture and stuff to get through that. And yeah, the only book of his I say is way too long is Insomnia, which is just it's a great book, but it's freaking nuts. Like it is absolutely. It's like the first 500 pages are like nothing happens, and then it just turns into the craziest, like mind warping crap you've ever come across. So
which could be great if it was the first, say, 200 pages where nothing happened. Maybe.
Yeah. There's just like 500 pages of a guy, like an old guy who can't get to sleep, and then after that he starts noticing like little elves going around that like cut these cords above people's heads that nobody can see.
Is this just something that happened to him when he started hallucinating because he couldn't sleep?
I don't know where he's getting. I thought this is all coming from like Greek mythology and stuff, but he just throw in like, oh yeah, the Crimson King is now coming, and yeah, this guy is going to try to drive a plane into an abortion clinic and things like this. And you're like, what? Where the hell did this come from? And I go, that guy has been controlled by the Crimson King, who is like this master of the multiverse, and all. You're like, I thought it was about an old guy who couldn't get to sleep for like 500 pages. Where the hell does all this come from?
Is this a reference to King Crimson?
Yes, yeah. Oh, Stephen King loves the 70s rock. So yeah, but his big villain in the Dark Tower was the Crimson King and stuff.
Oh, that's a bit. I literally was listening to them today.
Oh, well,
so that's a great, because how often do I listen to weird prog? I don't really listen to prog very much, but it was part of the course I'm doing about rock history, and they mentioned King Crimson, so I was like, oh well, I'll put one of their albums on now while I'm doing my actual job.
Yeah. And but then of course 87. Would you want to wager a guess? I'll give you a hint in that it swings from what's regarded from It, which is regarded as one of his best, if not his best work.
Yeah.
To what's widely regarded as like his worst work.
His worst. Oh, geez. Okay, I might not even know then, because I know like
you do
like
know
Tommy
you
Knockers.
know the property for sure, because I know we've talked about it in the past, so you definitely know it as a book. But
it won't be Tommy Knockers, because everyone seems to be like, it's okay. Is it Tommy Knockers?
It's Tommy Knockers.
Oh,
yeah,
really? Because most people I've spoken to are like, it's all right. Like, nobody seems to hate it. But then again, they might not be representative of the fan base.
No, it's wildly hated by a lot of
Really?
and Stephen King himself is just like, it's awful. It's an awful book. And again, because they like wrote it when he was like, massive cocaine binges and just like sitting out there typing out, doing rails of coke, typing out a 5,000-page book, but the title's only 2 letters long, all this kind of crap. And then I'm like, here you go, it's a masterpiece. And then they're like, in the same vein, it's like, this thing is like aliens or whatever. It's like, it's absolute garbage. But the thing is, I actually like Tommy Knockers myself. I think it's like, I'm fully appreciative of it, but it might also be like, I remember like loving that miniseries.
The sci-fi one.
Yeah, when I was like 7, when it was on TV, and it was like a big, like, you're not supposed to watch it because it's Stephen King and it's scary. And then you watch it and you're like, it's great. And then like years later you watch it and again, the first like 2 hours of it, nothing happens. And you're like, this is so boring. What the hell? Like, but no, so 87 would have been, so Mark might be sitting here reading Tommy Knockers. I did the second biggest book of 86 was Out of Africa.
Oh, okay.
And then in 2 and 3 in 87 were both Tom Clancy. Red Storm Rising and The Hunt for the Red October, which is like, what's Tom Clancy and Red? Like, is that a thing that he really loves the color red or something?
Well, he's American, so he hates commies. He hates the Reds.
But you would have thought it would have been like, Blue Storm Rising and then The Hunt for the Red October. But I guess The Hunt for the Red October.
They're the enemy of the book, you see. It's the Red Storm. It's rising. You've got to stop it because you're a patriot.
And then also in both years, the best-selling non-fiction book was Fatherhood by Bill Cosby, which is
I was going to say I could imagine Mark reading that, but that was I could imagine him reading it back in the day.
Well, he has to raise these kids, and they're surrounded by in the house,
And that was considered wholesome then.
Yeah, so
Not
like I said, Bill Cosby now advising like, yes, keep all your lights out and the house in complete silence for several hours, and then go to check on them when you haven't heard anything in a while.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, that's interesting, though, these book ideas, because I hadn't considered that. I just assumed he was studying.
No, well, I think he does have a pen there. I spun that after I made the notes. But
he could be one of those people who puts notes in their books.
I would fully believe that he's reading Fatherhood by Bill Cosby, and he's underlining passages to be like, okay, so go in and make sure to see how if your child is musical, go in and encourage him.
Yeah.
Make sure to give him a weird handshake after 5 seconds, as if it was a business meeting or whatever.
Tell you what, though, on his little walk through, when he spots John, he's got his shirt off. Take a dress.
Yes. I actually thought it was a weird edit as well, because it has this angle on Mark, and then it cuts to John, and it felt as if like it was almost like implying like, in Twin Peaks when they reveal that like Leland Palmer is Bob, and has this weird editing of him looking in the mirror, and then you look and then you say, it felt as if they were trying to imply that like Mark and John were the same person or something, like, because there's like identical positions both reading, and then just those little weird edits. It's like, is it supposed to be that would explain so much if they were the same guy?
Maybe it's to indicate they're united in purpose.
I'm choosing to believe this whole time the Dragon Sound has just been Mark with like a drum strapped to his back, cymbals on his knees, like guitar that's also a keytar.
Oh,
he's out there playing these songs by himself, imagining the friends he could have. They're all songs of longing.
Imagine that. That'd be so depressing. Oh my God, no! Now I feel for him. This is all fiction.
And then like all the remainders of Dragon Sound are all the potential fathers he never knew and stuff. Like he could have been a white guy or a black guy or another white guy or The guy from Hall & Oates. It could have been anything. My father could have been anybody.
The very last shot, he closes a book. He's been writing a book the whole time. This is the story he wants. He's still in the orphanage.
Or you just go full Jacob's Ladder scenario, and he's just lying lying out in the jungle, dying after being wounded in Vietnam.
Oh, Jesus Christ. No, don't ruin it. It's not a Jacob's Ladder scenario.
But also, I did have the note as well that maybe this is like a low-key, again, because they're all sitting reading in the dark, in complete silence. Maybe this is like part of Jeff's terror campaign, that he went and like cut off their electricity. He's like, all right, now we'll see them run.
Yeah.
Not realizing that these dragon sounds are the masters of serenity. So they just sit in silence
electricity.
For days, potentially. They could be in there.
Mark is used to that. He did it for 6 months at a time back in the day when he was a youngster on the streets of Korea.
I also like the idea that Jeff's just out there leaning against his car, just like, all right, any minute now. Because they're all just sitting in there quietly reading.
Well, they live a Spartan life, because at first I was very confused why Mark had a U-Haul blanket, if you notice. Because U-Haul, I mean, I don't think it's a company here, but you can infer what it is from the name, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's a removals company. So I was like, well, why has he got a blanket with U-Haul written on? Apparently that's a thing. Because they say briefly in the commentary that him having this blanket is to show his difficult life, and that these guys are struggling. They're not making any money out of this, really. They're having a tough time, tough life. He's got this cheapo free blanket, essentially. I think they just wrap stuff in it.
So then how much was Dexy's making that he was so protective of that job?
Yeah.
Well, are they paying? Oh, Dragon's will do it for like, a 12th of the price that Dexy's charged.
They'll do it for a sandwich.
Yeah, it's like, so you give all of us. No, we have to share the sandwich. Is the thing? But like, so that's why the guy's like, oh yeah, Dexy's charging like $500 a night. Get the hell out of here! God damn it!
To be honest, I'm always excited when a promoter gives us chips.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, there's chips. It's great. I haven't got to go out afterwards.
So it could be legit. Like maybe they're all so quiet because they're actually squatting. There's like, no one should know that we live here. Like, this
oh
is
my god, that's it. They're squatters.
Yeah. Just hoping that eventually the neighbors won't notice that somebody's in there. That's why I have to shower at night and stuff and all that.
Holy shit, we've broken this wide open. They haven't got permission to make this their cool party frat house. Look at this rager they're having here.
We'll also just say, they might say that they put that U-Haul blanket there to indicate that. I would posit that they didn't put in that level of thought, and they just happen to have that blanket to hand. That's
it was
the reason
laying
that
around,
it's there. Yeah. It was just like, yes, this was a U-Haul blanket that was also there. But
it does work for the character, though. So, it's killing two birds with one stone, really.
I did see there was a show, pretty good show, actually. There was a good show nobody talked about, but called Killing It with, Daryl from The Office, Craig Robinson.
Yeah.
And it was about him. He lived down, I think it happened down in Florida, actually. We might have talked about it before, actually, because the whole plot line was that there was apparently, like, out in the swamplands, there's a lot of snakes.
Oh, yeah.
And so they pay people, like, the government just goes like, yeah, freelance snake hunters, if you want to go out, we will pay you by the snake.
Whacking day.
It's basically whacking day, yeah. And so he's, like, hard up, goes out, but he meets a comedian that I really love, Claudia O'Doherty, who's, like, Australian. She's been in a couple of things and stuff. One of those people I saw her on YouTube years ago, and now she's like an actress. And I was like, oh, I remember her back when she was nobody.
When you were nothing.
Yeah. But she lives out of a U-Haul. Like, she keeps talking about her house, and then you find out, like, no, her house is like a little U-Haul that she has in the back of her.
Like a container. Yeah,
basically, yeah. And it's got like it also doubles as a sign. So it's basically she's living under a sign that she drives around in and stuff. But yeah, and the whole thing is both of them have absolutely no money, but they were going to go out and like hunt all these snakes and stuff. And apparently, apparently that is a thing in. I'm pretty sure it's Florida, or it might be like Louisiana or somewhere. But they're like, the government, because they don't want to have to, maintain a salaried service of people who go out and take care of these snakes. So they will pay random assholes to go out and risk their lives to bring in snakes. And they're like, yep, 7 snakes, that's $350. There you go.
Doesn't surprise me. I get that you need to deal with it because it can become very dangerous. But I'm also an animal rights person. I'm like, I don't want randoms killing snakes.
But yeah, but it feels very ultra-American as well to be like, yeah, go out and take care of them, but whatever means you think is necessary. So like they'll just have people with like hardcore artillery going out into public, the public swampland where anybody could be, and just throwing grenades and just setting off machine guns to try to kill snakes. And it's like, I mean, I'm just glad I don't live there, quite frankly. I'm sure the rest of Florida is lovely. Like, I'm certain that it's a lovely town. But let's say town, state, but,
Yeah, I'm sure it is. But I do get the vibe it has horrific animals, Well, you can hear, it's very different kind of beasts, but you can hear in this scene, there's a lot of insects outside.
I was wondering about that, because it seems such a film cliche. It's like, yes, if you're in any kind of suburban area in America, as soon as nighttime hits, all you can hear is crickets. Like, it's just in every area, every suburban area of America is infested with crickets at all times. And if you're in the cities, you can't hear them because there's always a blanket of car horns, beeping and people driving around and stuff like that. So if you're in the city, car noise. Out in anywhere that's not the city, crickets. That is all you will hear. These guys
look like they're a little bit further out from the center, don't they?
Yeah. But I do wonder, is that true? Is it, can people message us to be like, can you verify whether the cricket infestation of America is as full force as the films out there would indicate?
Do let us know, because this isn't really a thing in England.
Oh, God, no. Oh, no.
I did experience this, though. This is giving me flashbacks to Pakistan, because it sounds exactly like that. Like, it's all the time. All the time. All day. Every day. All night. Every night. You can't stop it. You just get used to the noise. I think maybe that's why now I like white noise when I sleep, maybe. Because it's permanent. And when you first get there, it's jarring. It's like, what the fuck is this? It's really loud as well. It's not like a hum.
It doesn't sound like it. It sounds here like it's like, that's full on. It's just the sound of the night is just...
You
like
just have to roll with it, basically. You're like, okay, I guess that's what we're doing.
One thing I like to put a pin in, because I'm hoping he'll get back to me before the next episode, but usually when there's ever any Asian writing, I always go to a friend of the show, Jack Stovold, who speaks, several Asian languages quite fluently. And he's been able in the past to go like, well, that's Korean and it means this, or that's Japanese and it means this.
Indeed.
But because I only made my notes earlier today, and it's been about like 5 a.m. where he is. Oh. He did not get back to me before recording. But keep in mind that sign is there, and it does say, it's featured prominently. It does say something. And,
you know what? I could have helped. I don't speak as much as he does. Nowhere near at all. But I mean, I could have figured it out with my textbouks and things. Because that's Japanese.
I can't do it, John. It's right there. Let's do it live.
I should have looked into it. That's Japanese. I'm 99% sure. It doesn't look anything like. Yeah, I don't know. It looks Japanese to me from this shot I'm looking at here. But Mark's walk. He's walking like a fucking Terminator. There's no emotion. He's just walking like rigid. I think he's permanently rigid. Well, actually, that sounds lewd. He's permanently rigid. Maybe I imagine he is as well.
He's been out working out all day. He's been out, demonstrating. Sometimes your muscles get a bit stiff,
That's true. That is very true, actually.
His toes are killing him, like from all the clutching they've had to do. This is absolute agony, man.
I wonder if you can exercise your toes. But I assume you probably can.
No, I imagine if it's got, well, are the toes muscles? I guess they've got musculature. So
they'll have muscles. They must have a muscle in, right, to move them. I don't know. I'm not a biologist.
But yeah, so we got bonged out on one of the sofas. There is John, and apparently it is studying. And Mark offers him the incredibly unhelpful advice of like, John saying like, yeah, I got loads of work to do. Why don't you go to sleep?
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, great.
He says, well, it's good for your health or something like that.
Yeah. Why aren't you sleeping? Taking care of your health.
Yeah, and then John's just like, that's true, but I've got stuff to do. As if like he doesn't. To be fair to them, though. To be fair to Mark, he doesn't have the vibe of a guy who's like, I'm cramming for a test, like I'm really panicked. Like he does feel like he is half dozing. And this is they specify that he's doing homework, so it's like, so is this due the next day or something? Like, should you be a lot more freaked out currently? Like, or what's your deal, John? You know, but, again, because he just feels so like he's just like lying prolapsed on the sofa, like it's going in. It's going in. I swear it's going in.
Well, it's interesting actually because there's two people there, isn't there? Because there's John's on like this one chair, and then is this Jim?
Yeah. Oh no, it's well, actually, where is Jim? Because Jim again, was absent from the fight.
Well, I think that's Jim on the sofa, and then John's in the chair.
Although there is a shot of Joe Jack, like coming up, but he's got a white shirt on, and this you can see like this head has a white shirt, and he seems to be. Shirt. Oh no, I think it's definitely him because then you can see behind him in that shot that it's like a sofa arm.
Yeah,
he's got his head laid on. So yeah.
Oh, I think you've got it. But I felt kind of before I realized like the kind of vibe of the scene. I felt kind of bad. Like, oh, has he not got a bed? Is this what he has to sleep on? But no, once you go through it a little bit, I thought maybe the vibe was more, you know, sometimes where you stay up late, you end up falling asleep on the sofa. Yeah, you've woken up, but you haven't dragged yourself to bed yet. You're like, oh, for God's sake, I can't be bothered.
I'm always so thankful for. Usually when that happens, I'm pretty drunk, so you don't. The next morning, you don't remember that you'll wake up in your bed, been like, oh, thank God, I got somehow somehow. Yeah. But it's horrible when you do it, and then you wake up and you're like, oh no. I have to now get the process of going to bed. I have to do all the stuff now.
And then there's the debate of like, do I brush my teeth? It's like 4 a.m.
Yeah. It's like, oh, it's like 3 stories up as well. God damn it! Like,
it's the worst. It really is.
Although I do like now looking at the position these guys are in, it almost feels like because we don't know what John does. We know Jane's the computer circle major, but we never knew what John did. But like this almost looks like he's psychoanalyzing Joe Jack. Like maybe he's like laid out on the couch and he's there in the therapist chair, and maybe he was going through everything. He's like trying to find out, like, yeah, what's your whole deal, man? Like I don't know anything about you. We've been in this band for like the last year and a half of our lives, but I don't know anything.
I was going to say he's going to be doing the obvious questions of like, so tell me about your mother, but he can't. He's an orphan.
Maybe that's why he fell asleep. There was just nothing to talk about.
Like, yeah,
he's just like, oh Christ, I need to get this done. I don't know what to write.
My textbook doesn't cover this. Oh no. Oh bless.
He's just like,
that'd be amazing.
All your issues, daddy issues. Like I didn't have a father. Like, are they Mark issues?
That's the same thing. He's daddy. Mark is daddy. You know?
Maybe that's why Mark Lice is so perfectly silent in the house. So when John's doing this, he's making sure that nobody's talking about him. He's got that kind of thing of like, what have you been saying about me? Because I'm the closest thing to a father you've got, asshole. So like, I want to make sure you're not talking about me.
That's it. He's secretly eavesdropping.
I discovered that when I went into treatment for anxiety, and I told my dad, and his first reaction was just like, "What have you been saying anything about me? Like, did I ever do anything to you?" It's like, there's nothing to do with you, man. Like, what the hell? Like, why are you getting so defensive all of a sudden? Do you think you did something to me? But
well, that's even if it was connected to him, it doesn't necessarily mean he's done a bad thing. You know, anxiety can come from anxiety is usually kind of it's more on you, the individual, like overthinking something. Someone could have done something so minor.
Yeah. Yeah,
you know.
I'm fairly certain my dad also has an anxiety disorder that he's never gone to therapy about.
Oh, that'll probably be the case.
So that's why he had such a volatile reaction to it. But like, it was proper like Homer when Marge is going to therapy, where he's just like, "Well, so what have you been saying about me? Like, what did I do?" It's like, you didn't do anything. I'm not talking about you.
Yeah, that's the thing. More people. I say this as someone who doesn't go anymore, but more people need to go.
Yeah,
I think it's not a bad thing. It might help you, it might not help you, but it's worth trying for that chance that it could, improve your life.
I do know people though who who go, but they've always broke, but they seem to like, yeah, my therapist said, it's like, I thought you didn't have any money. It's like,
well, that's why I had to stop going because in England you get free therapy for a while.
Yeah.
But then that ran out, so it's like, oh well, now you'd have to pay private, and it's like, well, I can't afford that.
Yeah. It's like, oh, how much is it? It's like, it's it can be a lot per session, So I was like, well,
I always thought of signing up for that BetterHelp.
Yeah.
But that's not too cheap either. But I understand why, because they're kind of at your beck and call.
Yes.
And I wouldn't be one of those people who pesters them day and night, but I bet some people fucking do.
But yes, I've noted people around who've like complained about their lot in life for years, and yet they've been in therapy for years. It's like, well, you were able to afford a psychiatrist for years, and yet you're saying you're hard up. It's like, are you hard up because you're having to pay for the psychiatrist?
That's what it is, yeah. And that's why they're depressed.
I also know someone who used to frequently go to a therapist and a psychic, which felt like a kind of just covering all your bases, I guess, to make sure, like, looking into the mind, and also in case it's some sort of like universal cosmic stuff as well. Just make sure I know what I'm doing here.
I'm not against that. I mean, I don't believe in it myself, but if it helps you and you're not getting grifted, then do it.
Although that person who also went to the psychic used to actively defy what the psychic would say.
Okay.
So they'd be like, oh yeah, the tea leaves or whatever say that you're gonna spend the rest of your life living in this country, in this state.
I'm going abroad.
And then that was her thing. She's like, nobody's telling me what to do. Fuck you. I'm moving over here.
That's ballsy. That's defying the gods.
Yeah. That
That's
really
some
is.
ancient Greek
Let's see if I end up there with 3 kids or whatever. I fucking dare you to happen. I'm gonna move as far away as I possibly can.
Bring it on. Do your worst.
Yeah. So I guess then though, in like 20 years time, you might be like, oop, it happened. Like, what the hell? It actually happened.
They've got you, baby. They've got you.
No, but yeah. So maybe John might have to move into psychic work because he's getting nothing out of this case with Joe Jack on the sofa.
No, he's drifted off, and Mark wants them to sleep, but Mark, sleep is for the weak, and you're in a war.
No, I think Mark's got the vibe of like, you see sometimes you get those exercise gurus, and they'll really emphasize like the best thing you can possibly do for your body and exercising is get lots of rest.
Yeah, and it won't even be 8 hours; it'll be 10.
Yeah. They're just like, you have to get a good night's sleep every time, and that's probably why I'm drastically out of shape. It's like, I never get a good night's sleep ever.
Same.
Ever in my life.
I don't think I've felt rested since I was about 13 years old.
Yeah. I've actually actively tried in recent months too. It's like, you know what? In like weeks where I'll have like the house to myself and stuff, I was like, this week I'm making a point. I'm getting the 8 hours, if not more, and it just never happens.
No,
like,
never
even
helps.
In the complete silence of the whole thing. There's no crickets outside. There's nobody in the house. You're warm. You're comfy. Still, after like 5.5 hours, I'm just wide awake again. And I'm just like, I'll try to go back to sleep. And then it's like, nope, it ain't happening, man. You got to get up now. Like, okay.
And even if I do manage to get the 8 hours, I don't feel any fucking better.
No.
If anything, I feel worse.
Maybe there's a threshold you have to go through. Like your body's like catching up. And then eventually, once you're like you're in excess of sleep, and eventually you might finally get so rested that you go into surplus mode, and that's when you feel better or something.
And you're definitely right, though. Mark would promote that. He'd promote healthy eating. I think he'd promote drinking lots of water. I imagine he only drinks water and tea.
Yes. Maybe that's why he's got that by the things in science. He's like, no, everyone should be going to sleep. It's only like 7 p.m. But it's like, no, everybody go to sleep now.
Well, we've got nothing else to do for the day now. We've done our band practice. We've done our martial arts. So what more do you want? Go to bed.
Well, speaking of the band, he comes into Angelo, who does he have a light on, or are they all like? It might well be like a money-saving device of like just have all your blinds open and light everything by the street lamps. Because they're poured in, and you can read by them. You're fine.
You might have hit the nail on the head, right? Because they mentioned the blanket being, illustrative of the financial situation. Perhaps this is. Because I can see a lamp in the background. There's a lamp just behind Mark's head when he comes in to see Tom.
Yeah.
It's not on, but it's there.
It does look, because remember when they had their after their late night tussle, and they came back and they had, Jim's monologue and stuff. I remember the lighting in that because it was late at night. It was very flat. It just sort of looked like it just looks like bog standard lighting. This does look better lit, to be fair. It looks more like cinematic in that, it's a lot of, the lights streaming in through the blinds and like this shadows in play and stuff. It looks a lot more cinematic. Whereas that just looked like, you could have filmed that. Like, anybody could have set up a camera and just press play for that,
Yeah, I actually like how this scene looks. Obviously it's not the darkest of darkest nights, but it also doesn't look really phony. It feels kind of I don't know. Yes, it's cinematic. Probably is the term. Like it captures the nighttime while still being visible.
Yeah. Also, like, again, maybe YK Kim himself trying to save costs might have been like, well, maybe all the rest of the nighttime scenes in the house, maybe we just open the windows and like they go, the city's paying for our lighting now. It's perfect.
That's it. There's loads of street lights outside. But Tom's beavering away at a new tune. The genius is at work. The process of a master.
This seemed insane to me, though, because maybe it's going to be a thing where, like, oh, no, people do this all the time, but, like, Mark comes in and he's just like, oh, so what are you up to? He's like, oh, I'm working on this new tune. I've worked out this new keyboard part for Jin.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it doesn't even need to be at a keyboard. He's just, I guess, again, in his head, is just going like,
well, he's Mozart.
Well, that's what I was even thinking, like, because Beethoven was deaf, obviously, but then even he used to, like, Beethoven composed by sitting at the piano and putting his head to the wood so he could feel it, so he could feel like the bass and stuff. And yet just Tom's doing it entirely in his head. Like, doesn't need any kind of a, particularly just as a practicing musician, unless they are trying to save money, where it's just like, yeah, you can't plug in the keyboard.
Don't turn it on.
But at least go out to, like, yeah, it just seemed, musicians are listening. If you can, just do this. Like, yeah, just compose an entire thing and write down the notes in my head. Maybe that's how Angelo works, in real life. It's like, that's how he did things. He wrote it in his mind and then just wrote it down. And then, lo and behold, when someone played it, it sounded exactly the way that he thought it would and stuff.
That's the thing, right? We were both on a similar kind of track with this, because I wrote a similar note where I was astonished. I didn't think about that, but I was astonished that Mark walks in and he can just read it, like the written sheet music, and basically hear it in his head.
Oh, yeah, this is bullshit.
Because he thinks, oh, that's great. That's amazing. It's like, as someone who can't read sheet music, right, can people do that?
No. Not that quick. Like, this should have been, like, him sitting down and, like, leafing through it and then kind of, like, taking a moment.
Like, nodding along, like, trying to imagine it. Like,
Yeah. But he just literally sits down and is like, oh, look, oh, wow, I can hear this entire thing in my head right now. It's like, he's not even asking, like, well, what key is it in? What kind of, like, synth are you using? Like, what is this? And they both seem to agree, like, I guess the vibe is, like, very complicated. Because he's just like, oh, no, I think Jim will like it, too. And Tom, is like, oh, yeah, I think he should be able to handle it.
Oh, right. I thought that was a little dig. That was like a backhanded compliment. Yeah, because he's kind of like going, well, he should be able to handle it. I mean, he's not as good as me, who wrote it, but,
Is there beef in Dragon Sound? Where it's just like, yeah. It was like, but you're already the lead singer and guitar player, Tom. Are you just raging that you just can't be full Prince or whatever? Well, to be fair, Prince was, of course, as talented as he was, also a raging egomaniac.
Yeah.
Who did drive his bandmates crazy and stuff. So, like, maybe he is. It's like, well, if I were playing it, when the Dragon Sound goes into the recording booth, it'll be me playing these parts.
That's the thing. I've heard this happen a lot with bands. Especially when they're recording, is basically, it happens a lot with the guitarist. They'll be like, no, I'll do the bass. Yeah. It's like, leave it to me. You don't need to turn.
I think that literally was with Prince. Like any album by Prince and the Revolution, it's all played by Prince.
It's just Prince. Yeah.
The Revolution are just the session band he takes out on the road with him, like, or they were, But
it does happen a lot, and like, obviously, there's different ways people write. Like in our band, for instance, Pete. He will often come up with songs himself, and he'll just present them and be like, "Oh, I've come up with a song."
Yeah.
Can you do it? Like, he won't do the drums, but he'll do the guitar. He'll have an idea for how the bass goes. He'll have suggestions for the sax. So it's like, well, he's already thought of like 80% of it.
Yeah. No, I think that's the way with a lot of bands. Like, I know, friends of mine who were in, like, I was at their rehearsals and stuff, and it was always just like, you'd get the drummer coming in and looking at what it was, and then, like, they just sort of figure out how you would drum to that and stuff. I'm like, okay, so this is how that, all right, now we got a song kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'm sure there probably are people who will come in and go very specifically, I want the drums to sound like this and you must do all this stuff.
Oh, they do.
Well.
Yeah.
But it's, usually a band, a much more collaborative process, like, like the go-to one I always have in my mind would be the Smiths, where it's just like, literally, Morrissey just wrote lyrics, Johnny Marr went and wrote a guitar part, They come in, present the guitar part to the bass player and the drummer. They would both go, all right, I'll come up with a bass line. I'll come up with a drum. And then Morrissey comes in and is like, okay, here's some lyrics for that. I'll come up with a melody on top of it. And there we go. Now all four of us to come together and we've created a song, which is ridiculous. Why the whole, the royalties thing where like...
Yeah.
They were just like completely screwing the bass player and the drummer where they're like, well, clearly the four of you came up with the song. But like, yeah, but way back in 1982, they signed a contract saying that we could both have like 25% more than those two. And so we're holding to that, goddammit.
Don't you think out of loyalty, you would say, look, I know you signed that contract, but it's bullshit, really. We should change that.
100%. But I think that was Johnny Marr's thinking, was just like, yeah, you know what, we should be giving these guys more. But Morrissey was like, no. And that's why he's an asshole. Well, that's one of the many reasons why he's an asshole. And it's that's one of the reasons why they wouldn't. One of them's dead now, so they can't reform. But like, that's why they will never reform formally. Is because like he still gives out about that court case because he lost. And
that doesn't surprise me that he won't shut up about it.
Oh yeah, no, it's his whole. He's so petty and vindictive. It's it's hilarious. Like when you read his autobiography. Because there's like, skim through a lot of stuff, and then there's like 50 pages about that court case, and he remembers every detail.
One more thing.
And it's all just like every single little... Because the judge was outright insulting him and everything. Like he had the cut of his jib, he's just like... I think he actually said, like, Mr. Morrissey, I find you to be like a untrustworthy... Like, he had laid out a whole big thing that he called him.
And Morrissey puts that in his book.
Oh yeah, but he's written songs about like that judge. Like he was made no secret about how much he hated that court case.
Hang the judge.
Yeah. There's a line, but the more you ignore me, the closer I get. One of his big hit solo singles is like one of the lines is. Beware, I bear more grudges than lonely high court judges. That's just I'm specifically talking about this one asshole.
You should have named him.
Yeah, who called me like truculent or something. Like, who the hell does he think he is?
Oh, Jesus Christ. It is fascinating, though, to see how bands come up with songs, because everyone has their own way of doing it.
Yeah.
Like some people will just, it's a collaboration more between two. Like the singer... No, let's say, the guitarist and the keyboard player or something. It's like, yeah, they come up with most of it, and then we just, do bits around. But then some bands, I remember learning about how Korn made their songs, and it literally was brick by brick. It was like, okay, we start with the drums. I mean, they might not do this now because the lineup's changed a little bit, but they start with the drums, come up with a cool drum. Then we come up with a cool bass line. Bass player does his thing. He's like, yeah, this is going to work. Then the guitars come in. And he won't do the lyrics till that's happened. It's literally brick by brick, step by step. Whereas other bands might, sometimes they come up with lyrics first, and then like, can we do a tune that fits the lyrics?
Yeah. It's again, I know I always thought it was a weird thing, but again, to go back to the Smiths, apparently it was always title first. Morrissey's whole thing was like, I come up with a title and then I write around the title.
Oh, that's interesting, because they do all have snappy titles.
Oh, they have great titles. It's one of his biggest strengths. It's like, oh, he has fantastic titles, that guy. And it's always weird because sometimes then the title won't even appear in the song. It'll be, like, I guess, inspired by whatever. But
I like that though when the title's not in the song, because I always see it as like, oh, well, that's the theme of the song. It doesn't necessarily have to be lyrics in it.
Yeah. But again, I know like other musicians as well, like with Talking Heads, like a lot of resentment between most of the band and then David Byrne, the front man, because like some of their biggest albums was just him and Brian Eno going off and been like, yeah, we've come up with an album, you guys play this.
Tells them what to do. Yeah,
and they're like, but I thought we were a band. Like, no, me and Brian came up with this thing. Like, just play that. And so that's why like they went and made like the Tom Tom Club and stuff afterwards. They're kind of doing their own thing.
We actually want to be a band.
Yeah. It's like one of them's like, two of them are husband and wife. They're just like, we want to play music and stuff. Not have you and your weirdo friend come in to be like, yeah, it's going to sound like this. And you're like, I didn't sign up to be a tribal drumming weird new wave band, man. That we were punks back in the day. God damn it.
So after this little dig at Jim, Mark decides to sort of head off on his rounds, maybe go back to bed or whatever. Now, Tom says something that bemuses me. He says, "Good night, guy."
Oh yeah.
What? That's your like best friend. That's your daddy.
That struck me as it might have been like, is it an indication that Angelo is in fact Canadian?
Yeah.
That's a real, like, you're not my buddy guy, and you're not my guy friend.
Canadians, if you're listening, do you say that for real, or is that South Park?
But no, I've noted too, Americans, like, we know guys who have been on Batman, like Mark and Nathan, and I've noted them always saying, like, oh, you can't do that, my guy, like.
Oh, okay.
Like it is a phrase that people will say, like, hey guy, like
my guy makes a bit more sense to me though in my head. I don't know, guy. Good night, guy. What? Then again, I deliberately want to start calling everybody darling. That's a thing I'm going to start doing just to because I like to see people's reactions. Some people love it and some people get confused.
So I've quickly Googled Angelo. No, he specifically says born on the 14th of June, 1958 in the USA. So,
there you go.
I mean, I guess he could have been
in the USA.
He could have been born and then raised in like Vancouver or something. But like, I think it might just be it's a phraseology of just like, hey guy,
Maybe it's a Miami thing.
The only other person I can remember doing it is in at the end of Beetlejuice. When, like, during the wedding, and, crazy stuff's happening, and then, like, Gina Davis appears, and, like, she says Beetlejuice, and he has to, like, turn her mouth into a zipper, and all this kind of, this loads of things, and he forgets the ring, and it's all hectic and stuff. And there's a bit where Alec Baldwin runs up to him, and Beetlejuice, like, turns quickly, freezes him in place, and goes, hey, guy, and then makes him disappear. And I remember it always stuck with me that he called him Guy in that instance, like, so, and maybe it is a thing. It's not as widely popular as, like, man.
Yeah,
but it's just saying, like, hey, guy. Like, that is a thing that Americans say, I guess. It's never translated over here. But
It could be. It could just be very 80s as well.
But then Mark and Nathan seem to use it all the time. Like,
but they're retro hipsters, No, they're not. I love them.
Yeah. But no, I do call bullcrap on... Like, you could have had more of a scene of, like, if they did have Mark come in and sit down and take time to look at the music, then I might have emphasized the point that he's writing a new song too much. And it could have been like, is this song going to be part of, like, the finale or something? Like, are you going to... You seem to be spending a lot of time with the fact that you've written this new song, whereas, like, now it's just like, oh, it's incidental that this is what they're up to that night. While these guys, like, the tough guys are out getting laid and squeezing boobs and... To be honest, you just look like they're having a good time. These guys are all sitting around in their eerie solitude, and
they live a nice, simple life. Serene.
Yeah. Although Yoshido and Jeff, best of buddies. You cut over here to Tom, giving little digs at Jim, and it's like, well, this part does require like 11 fingers to play, but like I guess maybe he could play it.
I think he'll be able to handle it. Maybe. Great, yeah. Thanks, man. Thanks. A lot of confidence in your friend.
Yeah. But no, so Mark sitting down reading that way. It's just bad acting also on YK Kim's part of then like, oh yeah, I instantly know exactly what this sounds like, and I can hear the entire symphonic blast in my mind instantaneously. It's like, no, you take a couple of seconds to be like, no, I can kind of hear that. Yeah,
you'd think like. Even that, I don't even think you need it. Why doesn't he just say, oh, what are you doing? It's like, oh, I'm just going over that song I've been working on. You're like, okay, fine. You don't need any more dialogue, really. He's looking over what he's written so far.
I was thinking in my head, too, like, if they wanted to put on, because presumably they can't afford any, like, music that's not done by Angelo. They can't get the rights to, like, friggin' Roxy Music or something. But I always thought it would have been funny if they had like a radio on and a different band playing that's also Dragon. Like, it's Dragon Sound, but under a different name or something. Would be like, remember way back when apparently when Spinal Tap used to tour, like the actors came out as Spinal Tap, but the support was always the Folksmen. And the Folksmen were just the guys from Spinal Tap dressed up as like a 60s folk trio.
Oh, they did like two things. Oh my God.
They came out and they had like you see, because the Folksmen pop up in a Mighty Wind, like another kind of like a faux rock documentary they did, but it's all about folk music.
Amazing.
And they play songs, and like the songs are great. They're all proper old Greenwich Village, like very twee 60s folk songs.
Right, send me a link to this. I didn't know about this.
Oh, they're fantastic. Yeah, they did one called Edith Joe's. It's just like it's all proper. It's a fantastic song, but it's just the guys from Spinal Tap doing that. And then like, they used to come out and be like, yes, we're the folksmen, and they would be all like, because all the people going to Spinal Tap are all metalheads. So the joke was that these little twee folk guys would come out and play it.
And they're like annoying them all.
Yeah, and then they just nip off, put on all the Spinal Tap gear, and come back out and do a Spinal Tap show. But
that's genius. That's amazing. Holy shit.
But I would totally love if there's like a terrible country song in the background that was also played by Angelo Giannotti. Or if this was more reflective of reality, when we found out that Angelo did write a song that he was very proud of, that YK Kim was like, no, get the hell out. If Mark came in, he's like, what is this trash? Just started tearing apart the whole room and stuff.
Smash the place off.
I told you no more synth, no more keyboards.
Oh, he's taking it back to basics.
He's noticed the November Rain sequence of Guns N' Roses happening. He's like, not us. We're never going down that direction. I'm keeping you in line, Tom. God damn it.
I don't care what anyone says. That was great. It was wonderful. It was absurd. It was so over the top in the best way, in the way only they could do. Maybe Dragon Sound.
I think I was only like, within Guns N' Roses, it was only Axl who liked it as well. But it's just the rest of them were just off their heads and they're like, okay, yeah, I'll pay, 11-minute guitar solo?
Fine.
Okay. And 35 years later playing Glastonbury, he's like, we're still playing this. All right.
The solo is still going to this day. Hasn't stopped. But as Mark walks off, actually, I do need to point out, have another drink, people, because we've got another topless dude, Tom.
I would say I can imagine a musician writing topless. I have to say, I, for one, have never done my homework topless.
I don't like being topless.
Yeah.
No.
I guess maybe in Florida you got that heat. It might be a necessity, but like John's whole setup of sprawled out on a chair, shirtless, reading, and that's how you do your homework. I'm like, you need a desk. You need all your tools. You need to be equipped for actual. You do not seem like you're doing homework. You seem like you're lazing around.
Yeah, but, maybe he hasn't got a desk. They haven't got money, again, remember? They haven't got a lot of furniture, have they? So,
I don't know, maybe just perked up a bit. And, like, Mark looked like he's kind of doing, like he was sitting there with his, pen. It looked like he was kind of doing work, whereas John is just like,
well, maybe John does something like English literature and he's reading the text that they've been assigned. Because then you wouldn't really need anything but the book for this stage. Because you might want to go over some stuff first before you get at your highlighters and things.
Or maybe we misjudging this whole scenario, and this is all part of the Dragon Sound book club. So they're all going through Tommyknockers and making their notes.
That's it. They're all reading it. Because Mark's going to quiz them. And if you get it wrong, then you have to do more press-ups.
You find out too, like all the new song that Angelo's written is called Tommyknockers. Late last night in the night before, Tommyknockers knocking at the door.
Woo! Hell yeah. We're going to do a full cover of that, I promise you, listeners. All sung by Niall. No, I don't want to put that on you.
That's also one of the things too I love about, because Stephen King had gone through like every other horror thing. And then by the time we could get to Tommyknockers, it's like, what's a Tommyknocker? Like, I don't know, something I heard. It's like when you get to some of the short stories, like, yes, the library policeman. He's like, it's a scary story I heard. Was like, it's like, you really ran out of stuff, haven't you, man? The library policeman is like a weird ghost who comes after people when you're overdue books or something. What the hell is this?
It's absolutely nuts. Oh, jeez. I suppose then we cut to the next day, the morning.
Yeah, well, we do have that one shot of... I got very confused for a second because I thought it was an indication that John had fallen asleep.
Oh, yeah.
But and then I was like, well, he's got a shirt on all of a sudden. It's like, but then you can barely see it in the dark. But no, it's Joe Jack Diamond.
It is indeed.
Nuzzled out there, potentially asleep for real. There could have been like long into the like this is like day 28 of the shoot, and everyone's just like, oh my god, I really thought this would be done by now.
And they're just secret, like, just film him quick. Bit like your friends pranking you when you fall asleep. Although if people do that, they're not your friend.
Mark going over now, getting out the razor blade and the shaving foam going over, laying over his eyebrow.
Oh, God. Because that's so funny, isn't it, when people do that? No, it's not funny.
Yeah. I was so, it only happened to me once when I was in secondary school. Someone got me with the eyebrow shaving, but I had big, thick glasses. And so you couldn't really tell. It was great.
Nice one.
I got to get away with it. Yeah. And even on the Monday, when people are like, oh, let's see him. And they're like, oh, you can't even notice it. And I'm like, yeah, no, man, this is fantastic.
So what you're saying is you should go for the full NB look and just shave your brows off.
Yeah.
There you go.
Like No-Ho Hank and Barry. Yeah, so, anyway.
Yeah, then we cut to the morning, and they are having breakfast. Our boys are at breakfast. And I immediately thought, oh, yeah, these are people who clearly drink milk, and there's something unsettling about that. I don't like... When people drinking milk, I don't like it.
One thing I've seen a meme going on recently about, like, characters in movies drinking milk is always an indication that they're evil. So
there you go.
It was like, they had, like, 6 people. I remember, like, one of them was Alex from A Clockwork Orange. One of them was What's-Her-Face from Get Out, the girlfriend who turned out to be evil, her just sitting drinking a glass of milk. One was Harvey R. Bardem in No Country for Old Men. And it was just like, oh yeah, all those characters are intensely creepy. And they always do make a point of them sitting drinking like a glass of milk, which is not a thing that you would do when you're over the age of 12. You know, like it's there is something unsettling about it, you know, but...
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. That might be why, maybe something in the back of my brain was connecting those dots. And it's odd. It's odd. It's not really, I don't know, it's very American again, drinking milk.
Although I do know a guy who used to drink milk, like, obscene amount of milk. And like his dinner every day would involve, like, a big tall glass of milk and stuff. He'd have it with everything. Yeah. Which was, when we were living together communally. And I was just like... Why is all the milk gone? It's like, because he keeps drinking all the goddamn milk. But it seems as if Jim is outright having like a pint glass of milk, like with a handle and stuff.
Yeah, actually, I've just paused it on that. Yeah. What?
It looks like an old-fashioned, like an English pub glass.
It does,
filled with milk.
Nah, see, that's weird. Yeah. No. I can't be doing with it. I don't like it. But you know what? Considering it's trying to portray these guys in the other bits as like being, hard done by, they haven't got a lot of money and stuff. There's loads of nice fruit. There's donuts. There's milk.
Yeah.
This is like a lot of money.
Although maybe, I don't know, maybe then like in Florida, because of the temperatures and stuff, like, pineapples are just sprouting up everywhere. You can't get rid of them, goddamn. So they're like, you buy a pineapple for like 10 cents or something. Like it's obscene how cheap they are. We're over here like a pineapple's like a rarity. Like you're just like, oh my god, you've managed to. Like, they're only in season for like 2 months of the year, if that kind of thing. So.
That's a good point. I'm trying to make out the other fruit. I mean, there's apples. I don't know. Do they grow there? They grow here, so maybe not. There's an orange. Maybe this is all cheap. But the donuts aren't cheap anywhere, right?
Yeah, no. Is it a donut or is it a breakfast bagel that's put together?
I'd say it's a donut, right? Just because. Are you thinking of the one to the right of the screen?
Yeah.
Because I saw that and thought the same. But if you go to the left, same shape. It's next to the pineapple. Same shape, but that's defo a donut. So I'm thinking they've got donuts because you don't buy one donut.
This seems very like this is an unhealthy breakfast though.
Yeah,
of the amount of sugar you just get in the fruit by itself. But then like a donut for breakfast and a pint of milk is like, you know how fattening milk is? Like there's a reason people don't drink it after a certain age. It's because like, well, yeah, it goes from being like, oh, well, he's a growing boy or whatever into like, no, man, that milk's just pure fat. Like, that's what all you're drinking is fat right now.
But so back in the 80s, it was considered healthy, I think, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. I think when you're a kid, they still are. The whole emphasis is like, oh, yeah, calcium for your bones. But then after a while, it's like, well, your bones are pretty much, they're fine. Like, all the rest of it now is just going like, well, all that milk's going straight to the hips. Buddy.
Remember that there was a trend, though? It was cool. It was hip. You had to drink milk. The matter your age. So I think it's probably the height of that kind of. And it's probably that era where eggs weren't good for you. Whereas now it's like, just eat all the eggs you want.
Yeah. Also, the U.S. does have a weird obsession with like eggs for breakfast. Like that's just what American people seem to eat for breakfast. It's like, oh, eggs. It's just eggs by themselves.
I mean, we have them here, but it's usually with other things.
Yeah. But it's just,
and you don't have them at all.
I don't have them at all. But then there's always, in movies and stuff, it's always like, yeah, I made you some eggs for like, and soon in the morning, it's like, yep, of course I made you eggs. What else would I make you but eggs? I was like, is there any toast with it? No, it's just eggs.
Yeah,
like,
you need something else to go with it. I love eggs, but yeah, I like it. I like them as part of a meal. You know.
But yeah. I don't know how much we'll be seeing of the rest of. We might get into more breakfast analysis in the next minute.
Yeah,
because the shot might last for a couple of seconds longer. But it does have kind of a. I do wonder where Jim was. Like, did he overhear Angelo's little like? Well, he should be able to handle it. Was he in the other room like, you motherfucker? What was Or maybe he had a little dig at him because he's like, yeah, well, he's not here composing. He's out partying all night, probably celebrating the fact that he found his dad.
That would be amazing.
It's all internal jealousy of like, oh, so one of us has a dad now. Fuck you, Jim.
And he goes partying.
Just by himself as well.
Oh my God, I'm just picturing it. Like him going for shots and things. Like, whoa, I've got a dad.
And people are just like, yeah, me too, man. What do you want?
Oh, bless.
And that's why he wasn't at the fight this well. He's still out partying. He's so excited about it all. And maybe he's been partying for days. That's why Jack was passed out on the sofa. He's just like, I just need a break from the goddamn party, man. I thought I was like, my friends found his dad. I need to like be with him, but like, no, I just can't keep up with him.
And you know what? As well, we're talking about partying and drinking. You can have another drink here, listeners. Have two or a big one. Because these guys come in topless, and I'm going to count it as separate because it's now another day.
Oh.
I know it's the same people, and it's, they were dressed in this when we last saw them, but it's a new day. It's a new dawning. We can begin again. You can raise your glass of milk and take a big swig.
I was going to say, to make up for it, it has to be milk this time, or maybe a White Russian, if you want to be like diplomatic about the scenario.
The only other thing I've got really is I just want to say John is looking swole.
He is, yeah. He's looking, he is. He be ripped, Because if only Jeff could see this. But
yeah, and Mark's got the arms for this tank top. Because it takes a certain physique to look good in a tank top, I think. Not body shaming anyone, it's just like I would feel weird in one. Usually, yeah. But if you look like this, it's like, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense. If I look like that, I'd wear a tank top all the time.
No, he looks like he's poured into it. He's really filling it out too. It's not hanging off him in any way. Yeah, it's just like, yeah, no, it's a man. He's got a well-fitted, well-defined body, and also, yeah, he does suit the look. So
it's tough because if I wear one, I've got two approaches. Either they make me look fatter than I am, because I have to wear it like tight, and it's like, well, it's emphasizing bits I don't want to emphasize, and I'm not even fat. Not that matters, but it's how you feel inside, listener. Or I have to get them baggy, and I don't think a baggy tank top really looks good unless you're going for like a sort of femme look.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's rocking it.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm all noted out for 57.
I am as well. Oh, actually, I do have one thing from the commentary that I didn't mention it because they mentioned the U-Haul thing. But at the start, he's still talking about the the bikers being at the premiere and stuff. And Kim does say that the bikers, because this answers a question you had, they caused absolutely no problems.
Oh,
there was no trouble either filming or at the premiere. He couldn't speak highly enough of them.
Well, maybe it's like they still have your address. So.
Maybe.
I did not see them partake in any illegal activities. They were lovely gentlemen, and I had a great time making the movie with them.
Sincerely, little girl. I hope people get that. I know Sean Sherman will get that.
I have to go now.
No, he seemed sincere, and I thought that was quite nice. I think they were just happy to be in the movie. But they did turn up on the bikes, as I said. Like, he re-emphasized that. Like, oh, yeah, they turned up to the theatre and they all parked their bikes outside. It's like, oh, that probably didn't look too good.
Fair enough. I'd be disappointed if I invited a team of bikers and they showed up on like a minivan. I mean, what the hell is this?
They had tuxedos on and came in a limo. Oh, it's our big
I
day.
understand it's going to be the biggest film of the year, right? It's like, oh boy. Well, you doesn't specify which year. The year we meant was, of course, being 2012, when it had its drastic re-release.
No, 2023, when a podcast comes out all about it and brings it back into the zeitgeist. But yeah, that's the end of my notes. So should we break the connection?
I believe we shall.
Let's break it. We're breaking it. It's broken. We are available online to chat, to have a laugh, to talk about Taekwondo, because we are both black belts and we're pretty bad. Like, I can't even lie. We're not at all. But we're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Find us on all of those. Look us up on Patreon and all that kind of... Just look for us. Look for our network, Sleepy Charlie Media, because we do other shows as well. Can't be bothered today. I've got to go have my milk. I've got to have my donuts and my pineapples.
We're growing people, John. Like, we need friggin' sugary donuts and milk first thing in the morning.
Exactly. It's become dangerous. I now work next to a Dunkin'.
Oh, wow.
I've only been twice so far, which isn't bad in 2 months, but I have installed the app so I can get bonus donuts and things. So it's like, I'm going to start going there more. Yeah, I'll let you know how large I do get.
I mean, maybe once a week. Treat yourself to once a week, maybe.
That's what I'm intending to do once I've got my first proper pay. Because I've got my first pay, but as always happens with your first pay, it's fucked up.
Yeah.
Which is annoying. But once I get my first proper pay, I'll be like, right, yeah, let's go I'll get a little pack of 3, and I'll have a donut. I'll have 2 donuts one day, and then have one the next day.
Yeah.
Because they keep for like 24 hours or so,
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah.
So I'll do that. Why don't you go do that? This show is sponsored today by the good people at Dunkin'.
If we say it is, it means it's true. So.
It does mean it's true. I don't like the new name though. It should be Dunkin' Donuts still.
Yeah.
I don't like Dunkin'. That sounds shit. It's terrible.
This makes you think like what, the guy from Macbeth? Like what is this?
Amazing. Make a Macbeth-themed donut. Listeners, send me your Macbeth-themed recipes for breakfast. And we will see you again in 1 week's time for more Miami Minutes. Good night, guy.
Is it bad luck to say Macbeth on a podcast, or is it only when you're on stage? What's the deal with that?
The Scottish play.
Listen to me.